You are the biggest franchise in Australia, correct?
By numbers, we are, yeah.
Jim's Mowing.
Jim's Mowing.
Jim's Mowing, now part of Jim's Group.
They quote figures like $500 million or $1 billion.
How does someone go from a law clerk to the top marketing executive in Australia?
And we probably go against all the rules of what they say in branding. We pretty much give them free rein. So my team is responsible for advertising. We work for around 1,000 franchisees in their region because our main key difference is the founder story. Doesn't matter how big your company is, if you've got a founder, they'll have a story that's relatable, right? You can put all the time into doing a nice piece of content, and if it doesn't hit the mark, you've wasted a day or two and a lot of money doing it. So you've got to work on volume to know what works for you. I had a mum with single mum with bipolar disorder. I spent time in foster care and stuff.
We've come such a long way with mental health.
We have. It's still a long way to go though. I went to uni and it just didn't teach me anything. And I don't think it teaches kids a lot of anything. People are far better suited to trades and to small businesses than they are to uni.
What do you think is the biggest ROI a tradie can do on social media?
For a tradie, in my opinion,
Buckle up, you bloody legend, because in this episode, I was able to get on Joel Kleber, the Chief Marketing Officer for Jim's Group. Joel shares his unique story throughout Jim's Group and how he's able to double the amount of franchisees in just 5 short years using only social media. If you're a tradie business owner, you're going to want to listen to this podcast. Joel drops so many marketing nuggets, I couldn't even keep up. I had so much fun chatting with Joel. Let's just get straight into it.
Joel, you bloody legend, welcome to the podcast.
thanks for having me on, appreciate it.
So I know Jim's been asked this question several times, but from your perspective, a marketing perspective, what is your favourite franchise?
It's hard to pick. I'll get in trouble if they see it. But look, probably as a brand, like it's not a franchise, but the Jim's Group brand is something that's for me. That's sort of what I look after, right? But look, Jim's Mowing, everyone knows it. It's I think as a new business owner looking to get into business, you can buy a share of a 98% recognised brand in Australia for a really small fraction of the price, and it gives a lot of opportunities to people. So for me, Jim's Mowing, because everything's built off Jim's Mowing. The whole Jim's Group, every other brand that's in the business is built from the Jim's Mowing, franchise system originally from Jim. But for me personally, the Jim's Group, which we don't have any franchisees as Jim's Group, but the Jim's Group brand, which is something I've been passionate about since 2019 in terms of building it, it's probably my favourite because that's all my sort of work. But Jim's Mowing, you can't go wrong with the original.
What do you think that is? Because like Jim could have started Jim's Cleaning to begin with. Do you think it would have been as successful as Jim's Mowing? Like, what is that?
Well,
why is Jim's Mowing so successful apart from the other franchises?
Yeah, because of there's multiple factors. Like Jim's book's a really good one that we have on the website available for download. But I think timing was a big thing.
Yeah.
So back when it happened, that's when franchising started happening. VIP was a really big company at the time. And if you read Jim's book, he took a bit from VIP which he liked and he didn't like, and he changed it around. But I think timing is always a good thing. Opportunity and being he was just so relentlessly driven to this, making this work, because he had to make Jim's Mowing work so that he could get the money to fund his research. And that's his life's work. So Jim's Mowing and Jim's Group exists to fund his epigenetics research thing, right? So he was always toying around with ideas, well, how do I get rich? How do I get rich? And he tried Computer Shop, he tried Amway, all these different things, and he kept going back to this mowing round. And then he looked into franchising, all right, this is the vehicle I'm going to use to make myself the wealth I need to fund my research. So he was just so driven and committed to that. And timing, I think the logo is just now, because it's been around for so long and people have that good nostalgia when they grow up seeing the Jim's Mowing guy on their street, it just has that brand appeal. And if you think of brands and you say to people, which brands do you sort of think are Australian, and you show, they might say Bunnings, they might say VB, and they might say Jim's Mowing, for example, or Dan Murphy's, and you get a good idea of where the Jim's Mowing brand stands or Jim's Group brand stands with all the memes online. And I love memes. I think memes is a great thing for a company, and sometimes it annoys franchisees seeing the meme and they think they're taking the mickey a bit. But that's a really good sign of the brand's love and strength, is when people go out of their way to make all these memes or shirts and stuff which they sell, which we don't approve of, but that's what they do.
Not officially.
No, not officially, but such just a well-loved brand. But I think timing, his commitment to customer service, and it being a really good, fair system where people, when they do leave the system, they still say good things about it, which is why I think it's so big. And when he started, when they started approaching him about doing cleaning, for example, he tried it under another brand called Sunline, which was in the book, and it didn't work. Then someone come back to him, why don't you do it as Jim's Cleaning? And Jim was like, why would anyone want, this bloke, Jim's Cleaning? And they tried it, and then the rest is history. And now we have 40 plus divisions. We're always bringing on new divisions all the time as the Jim's brand. And it's sort of transcended the Jim's Mowing, thing now. Like, if you ask people on the general street now, they might generally say, Gyms does everything, which is a good thing. But yeah, it's definitely transcended just the Gyms Mowing brand. Now it's gone into more that logo with the hat and the gym part. People now associate that with Australian brand, customer service. Gyms does everything.
You've got that meme generator on your website,
We do.
don't you?
I did that a while back, and we ran a meme competition, and we flew the winners over from Perth.
Who was the winner?
It's a guy called Jimmy Mitchell, and he's a very smart digital marketer. I didn't know this at the time, and he had a friend, who had a Facebook page called Aussie As.
Yeah.
And what me and Jim stupidly did, we said, whoever gets the most likes and shares on their one will win. And then his friend had a Facebook page called Aussie As, which had like 500,000 Facebook followers. So what do?
Really?
They put it on that one. They obviously got the most likes on that page, and then we had to fly them over from WA, and they met Jim and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we do have one on our website where people can make their own logos, and we'll do another comp during the year for it. Yeah.
And the book is Every Customer a Fan as
Every
well?
Customer a Fan, yep. And he's updating that at the moment, so it gets updated every 2 years.
Oh, really?
And then so he updates it just every 2 years to keep it a bit fresh about what's happening in the company. So things get deleted, things get added in, depending on what happens. So every 2 years, and that's available for download from our website for free, and the audiobook too as well.
So can you take me back? If you look on your LinkedIn profile, you started at Gyms Group as a law clerk.
Yes, correct.
And now, how does someone go from a law clerk to the top marketing executive in Australia?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? The franchising thing was a real weird shock. I was quite embarrassed actually to win that, because you see all these CEOs from like Centura and stuff. You're beating them, and you're like, yes, it was a bit weird. But no, look, what happened was I was doing law commerce at uni, didn't know what I wanted to do. Keep mum happy, just do a law degree. I somehow got into it. Then I had to transition up to Melbourne to continue with the degree from Warrnambool. And then I had a mate working here as a paralegal, and he goes, I'm going back, take my job, you'll get a job here. So I called up a few times and ended up just starting working here 2 days a week because I needed to for uni. And then, just haven't left. I've just been in different parts of the businesses. Jim's Insurance, I was there for 4 years. Then I ran our documents and compliance team and legal team for a little bit. And then I've sort of created this role for myself, because what was happening back in 2019, like we outsourced the social media with our branding fund to a digital marketing company, which I won't name. And I saw him thinking, what are we doing? Like, no one knows about Jim. He's got no profiles online. No one knows about Jim's group. The social media was really, really poor. And I was getting right into Gary Vee at the time, and I'm thinking, I'm young and I know how to use Facebook, and I'm going to take it over. And I basically just sort of started taking it over, and from there we've just built on from 2019 to what it is today. And we've pretty much got a full-time great video team with Charles behind me and some offsiders as well. But we've had really good people over the years who have helped us build it. But now we're effectively got our own little media company in here, and we just pump out, as you know, content over and over and over. And we've been doing that since 2019. But yeah, it was just morphed into what the business needs.
Yeah.
So the business had a lot of good things about it, but what it didn't have was promotion of Jim himself, because our main key difference as a brand or any brands is the founder story. It doesn't matter how big your company is. If you've got a founder, they'll have a story that's relatable, right? So that's always something that you should really optimize and maximize. So we didn't have that. And no one really knew who Jim's Group was. There was no presence on social media that I thought was any good.
Yeah.
So it's basically just taking all the stuff from Gary Vaynerchuk and just applying it to Jim's. So radical transparency around franchising was the other thing, because there's always stories coming out on a current affair and stuff about a site-based franchisee getting the raw end of the stick and tarnishing all franchises the same thing. I'm like, stuff this. We need to be real transparent about what we do, because I know this is what we do is a little bit different. So that was what it came from as well, about being more transparent about franchising and trying to clear up all the confusion. And there's still heaps of confusion. Like you post a video on TikTok and you get, Jim takes 40% and all that sort of stuff. And so there's still a lot of work we've got to do on that sort of thing. But it was also it was what the business needed for one, but it was also trying to clear up the confusion and get rid of all the bad franchising stories that generally happen in the public, and try and show our system to show it's not the case with everyone.
So you said that the marketing agency that you used was not doing a good job. What did that look like for you guys? Were you like, well, this is just not getting ROI, or it just looked terrible?
Just wasn't. They weren't doing video, and then Facebook was saying do live video and all that sort of stuff, and they were just posting it. And look, to be fair to them, they probably didn't have the resources or the budget from the time, and the franchisors didn't value social media, quite frankly. They didn't have any understanding of it. They didn't value it at all. They didn't understand the power of it, and I understood the power of it for being a bit younger and stuff. And what I actually did is I gave Jim the Gary Vaynerchuk book, Crushing It.
Yeah,
I said, because he listens to audiobooks, so I said, listen to this. And then the stuff I was telling him got reinforced him by that book. And he was coming back to me, we need to be doing this and this and this, which I was saying to him anyway. But it was more, they weren't doing a bad job. Like they probably didn't have the resources to it, but our franchisors didn't really understand the power of it.
Yeah.
And what really kicked the whole thing off was when Facebook was saying, I took over the Gyms Group Facebook page and said, save yourself some money. I'll just do it as part of my role, what I'm doing at the moment with website stuff. I'll take over and just do the Facebook page. And what happened was Facebook said, start doing live videos and we'll promote it. So I sat Jim down for a Q&A in front of my webcam and said, let's just do this thing called Ask Jim. And people can jump on and ask you a question. So we get all the things like, what happened to his beard? Is there really a gym? All that sort of stuff.
Is there really a gym?
Yeah, all that sort of stuff, right? And you can actually watch the first one online. It's quite funny and awkward. And it's amazing to see how he's gone from that to what he is now with the online stuff. And then, but when we did it, we got a really good reaction from our franchisors saying, I've never seen inside this gym and all that sort of stuff because he's joking around a bit and stuff. And then what was happening was they said, can you do it again? So we did it again, and then franchisors got their franchise prospects to tune in and ask him a question. So they could ask him a question on the live stream, and then we would respond. And then you'd see him in training 3 or 4 weeks later or 2 months later, and then they'd say to Jim, I came in from Ask Jim, I watched 2 or 3 of them, and then it goes to him, well, there's my ROI for doing that right. So then we just kept doing it more and more. And that's where the whole thing grew from, was that one thing where he saw the actual business results with people coming into training. And that's why we've been allowed to do what we've been allowed to do by franchisors and franchisees as well.
So you mentioned very briefly about the franchisors marketing their part of the business. But from the outside looking in, I would expect head office to do all of the marketing. Or at least that's what I would expect a franchise to do, right?
Yeah.
So do you just want to step through exactly the different parts of gyms? So you've got from franchise down the bottom all the way up, because there's divisionals and stuff like that. Yeah, so
it can be quite confusing. So there's a national franchisor, which is Gyms Group. So on every contract we have the national franchisor, and then we have what we call them divisional franchisors, so divisions. So Gyms Mowing is a division, Gyms Cleaning is a division, Gyms Antennas is a division, Gyms Fencing is a division, right? So each one of those divisions have to be run by someone. It's impossible for us to run everything to the point that it needs to be done. So we don't own everything as well. So we own Gyms Mowing, for example, Gyms Handyman, Gyms Fencing, but there's another person who owns Gyms Cleaning Group, another one who owns Gyms Antennas, another one who owns Gyms Building Inspections. And it's up to that divisional franchisor to grow their division almost in a silo. Right. Underneath divisional franchisor will own all of Australia and New Zealand, for example. So they obviously can't manage that all themselves. Then they sell off what we call regions. So there's regional franchises.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so you might have, Gyms Mowing, WA split up into 4 regions, north, south, east, and west, right? So then you have a regional franchisor who's responsible for that part of the country. Then they might have 50 or 60 franchisees within there.
And they're they're boots on the ground. They're the people actually doing it.
Yeah, they're the first point of call for the franchisee. So if the franchisee has a problem, they'll call the franchisor, and then the franchisor will sort it out. And then the franchisor is responsible for marketing in their own region. The reason why it was done that way was back in the day was because local papers and stuff were so effective, right? So the guy who had Gippsland would go to the local paper and advertise directly with them, and the guy in WA would do it with their own thing and do their own local area marketing. So it's a bit more digital now, and we actually own a lot of regions down at head office. We're responsible for around 1,000 franchisees. So my team is responsible for advertising for work for around 1,000 franchisees in their regions, which we try to do our best of. But the franchisor was such a crucial part of the company growing up, over 30 to 40 years. Without them, it would nowhere near be as big as what it is, which is why they've always been responsible for their marketing efforts. And at meetings, their franchisees will say, well, where's our marketing money being spent and stuff? And they're responsible for communicating that to the franchisees. So it's always been decentralized that way. Yeah. That's the only way the company's been able to scale. So the reason why Gym is so big is because of the franchisors. If you didn't have franchisors, you just could not go up from a head office level and maintain the support that's required. He goes in his book a bit about it. I think he did try and do more support at head office at one stage, but he just found the better support was just having someone in that state where they can actually physically go and see and hold meetings in person and stuff, which is the far better support for the franchisee. So we do know franchisees like the face-to-face interaction with the franchisor support person, and we've got a really good one in Western Victoria called Matt Watts, and he drives around to all his guys. He's had like 60,000 Ks in his cars in like less than a year. He's driving a Mildura, Bendigo, but meeting him at the pub and stuff. But they love that face-to-face interaction, and it's a really important part of the system. So the reason why we don't do any centralized marketing is because also it's just so many franchisees. There's so many different niches. Building inspections, marketing strategies are different to a mowing marketing strategy, right? There's completely different. So you get better support in the marketing efforts from the divisional who knows that industry left, right, and center, and they know that back to front, as opposed to digital marketing person who doesn't know anything about that industry. So they all have their own agencies, some of them who they've worked with for many years, and they know and trust, and they get to know their business, and they just get better results doing it that way. But it's the reason why the company's grown is by having those entrepreneurial divisional leaders. And when you get a really good one, it just goes like that.
Takes off.
Yeah.
It's a really complex ecosystem.
It is.
Yeah. So if you own, for instance, X amount of
Yep.
these divisions, and then you've got these other ones owned by other people, how do the people that you own, so Jim's Group, how do they feel about the residual sort of marketing efforts that are going towards these other franchises that don't really have to do as much effort like these other divisions? Because you've got I'm assuming you would only maybe interview people from your own division.
No, definitely not. No, good point. Good question. No, I interview everyone. So we have in our newsletter, we have a franchisor interview link on Calendar, and they book in with me, or if a franchisee one where they can book into me. I interview people all over the country.
Okay.
So we don't just do the marketing effort is Jim's Group. I try and keep it as fair as possible. We try and do it for everyone. So it's not in isolated to one division. So we do a lot of stuff.
Just the ones that
Nah, definitely not. So our head office, like Charles and myself, Charles would go out to Jim's Laundry, for example, to an expo. So we don't own that division, but he went out on a Saturday, gave up his time to go and film with Jim's Laundry, for example. So we try and share the video team efforts around and try and do the interviews. After this, I'm doing one for the guy in Queensland. He's not a regional franchisor under anything we own, which is from Pool Care.
Okay.
But that's good because it gives him marketing content, which he can then use for prospects.
Okay.
So as a head office, we share this function around. But in regards to the actual marketing efforts per division and regions, it's a pretty full-on thing. And you don't hear any complaints when there's lead gen coming left, right, and centre. But if the economy slows down a bit, you need to be a bit smarter with lead gen, and that's when you start hearing some complaints about maybe it's a bit quieter and stuff. And then having regional franchisors who are responsible, or divisional franchisors with answers, makes it a lot better because that way, at least the franchisee feels engaged about where's my marketing money being spent. But from a head office perspective, we try and be as fair as we can. So obviously half of the group's mowing. So we try and focus half of our efforts on mowing content, and then the rest we share around.
Half of the whole of Jim's is mowing?
Yeah, half.
Really?
Well, it's less than half now. Half of the franchisee numbers, it's around 2,300.
2,300?
Yeah, so it's actually less than half now, 2,300 in Australia, New Zealand and Canada.
That's insane.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jim wants everyone to be as big as mowing, so, all the divisions like cleaning and, all these sort of stuff, we want to try and get as big as mowing, but it's a large number.
So that's 2,300 almost. So that leads him to believe you've got about 5,000 franchises across.
Yeah, we've got 5,350-ish now.
Yeah.
So, we don't count suspended franchisees, whose franchisees are on holidays and stuff. It's around nearly 5,500 actually total franchisees on our system.
Wow.
But we don't take into account ones who are suspended or on holidays. That's around 5,350.
You are the biggest franchise in Australia, correct?
By numbers we are, yeah. By numbers we are, yeah. Southern Hemisphere actually, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we go. Have to say Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, okay.
Makes it sound bigger, better.
Yeah.
By numbers we are. By units we are, yeah.
By units, and that's opposed to by gross revenue. Is that you're referencing?
Yeah. Well, gross revenue, it's a bit hard because we don't obviously at head office. We don't make as much money as what people probably think.
Yeah.
So, but they quote figures like half $1 billion or $1 billion. So in terms of what our franchisees actually make in terms of revenue, let's say if we combined it all.
Okay.
So I think Jim started quoting like $1 billion revenue.
Okay.
With franchisees and what they make and all that sort of stuff together.
Just an insane number to even think about.
It is, and we're still a very small market share when you look at us in isolation. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you said like 5,500 franchisees.
Yep.
What was it prior to 2019? What was it?
It was around 3,200-ish or 3,000. I can't remember the exact number. It's either 3,600 or 3,200 around 2019.
So you personally could attribute the growth to Jim's to you.
Well, Jim does. So I'll claim it, but I'll claim it with me and my video guys over the years. But large part of it he basically says, for sure.
So you essentially have doubled Jim's Group.
Nearly, yeah.
Over a really short period of time.
Yeah, well, basically, it's a bit of timing as well. But I think, with people wanting to be more entrepreneurial and do small business ownership, where do they look? And franchising, in my opinion, is still very stale in what information's out there. So we got a 5-year head start, and he will say a large part of the group's growth is attributed to the YouTube and all the content that we do because it's what we needed to do. And then we got in early, and now we've got the growth because of it. And we have every 3 weeks we have anywhere from 90 to 140 people in our lecture theatre sitting there, and I ask them the same thing. What did you watch before coming here? And everyone puts their hand up. Watch this, I watch this, I watch this, I watch this. And I'll tell Jim, I've been listening to the podcast 40 episodes. And that's 40 hours that someone's listening to franchisees talk about stories before actually coming here. So the franchisor doesn't have to do anything really. Yeah. If they've listened to the podcast or the YouTube channel before coming here, it's better for us as well because they know what to expect. So, and we get them here and you can see, they sort of know you in a way, and it makes things a lot easier. They feel as though they know Jim a bit better as well. Rather than just meeting him for the first time, they've watched content or podcasts with him and they maybe if they listen to it for 10 hours, so it's 10 hours of listening to the CEO speak about his values and the company. It's just a really easy sales thing for us, right? So, but yeah, the growth of the company is reflective of when we started doing all the video. Yeah.
What's your favourite piece of content that you've put out?
There was one where we had a young child on the spectrum who was a really big fan of Jim. And his mum reached out to us and said, can you send us some mowing stuff? And I said, where do you live? And she said, we lived around here. I said, well, how about you come in and I'll get Jim to give you a mowing lesson. So she brought the young gentleman in during training week, and his name was Zaf. And we gave him a tour around, and he was around for an hour. I mean, we put a video like that online, and then we put it out, and that was it. So that's probably one of my favourite pieces of content, because we do get randomly some kids who are on the spectrum who are obsessed with Jim's mowing or Jim's something for whatever reason.
That's great.
And if we can get them in, we'll get them in. And they're really nice, their families, and we try and do some content with them as well. Day on the roads for us has been, as a business, has been probably the best. So when we go out for a day with a franchisee and do like a vlog for like an hour, and then we condense it into like an hour or 45 minutes. It's a hard edit for Charles and for the boys who've done it before.
Yeah.
But the one, I think been 5 years ago, like it's a pretty bad production when you look at it, but that video still gets people into training. So the day on the road stuff for us as a business value has been really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously you've been able to build Jim's personal profile through this whole marketing effort that you've done, but also your own profile as well. How do you think businesses, corporate and B2B businesses, should be looking into the future at potential internal influencers? Because I know I've had a very similar experience trying to build up in a corporate structure, but it's very difficult, and I see a lot of potential.
I agree with you. They call it, like, all businesses should have a founder active on the platform. That's a no-brainer. Even if they outsource it, that's fine. I'm obviously run Jim Socials, so that's sort of me. But yeah, employees, I think you should be encouraging employees to do it, because people trust the post from an employee or from the personal as opposed to the company, right? Way more. So if you can have multiple employees in your business posting about your business daily, it's a really, really good thing.
Yeah.
I think it should be encouraged and rewarded, and they should provide training. I'm the only one in gyms who really do it,
Yeah.
And I try and tell all the staff, I say, just post stuff. There's a few that are slowly doing it. The reason why I only post the mine stuff, it's more just protection. You know what I mean? Like Jim can walk in tomorrow and sack me or whatever, and if I've got nothing to show for it. So that's why I'm doing it. I put a little bit of stuff into the personal brand, just posting what I do, just more of as an insurance policy. So it's more for that.
Yeah.
But in regards to what employee stuff, I think it's a really good point you make. Employees should be encouraged to post left, right, and center on LinkedIn. You should be rewarded in any way, because it's such a good network effect you get, especially on LinkedIn now. If the organic reach is really good, people trust people more than they will the corporate profile. So if you get a staff member sharing even the company's content, just reposting it or posting it natively into their own thing about working at the place, that stuff all helps, and it should be encouraged. But doesn't happen nowhere near enough for whatever reason.
No, it's really tricky. I mean, I remember posting videos and then getting the company I was working for being okay, but what about the customers that you're working with? Are they okay with it? And there wasn't a lot of guidance around it. So I think it's still so very young, and hopefully it matures.
Well, we do it at a franchisee level. So in training, we have a social media and AI session, which I take, and we encourage them to do posting left, right, and center, and which we do. And we've got 2 franchisees in Pool Care who've got the biggest TikTok accounts in Australia.
Wow.
I'm pretty certain they are. Well, they'll be top 5. One's got 220,000 followers, and the other one's got 120,000 followers, just posting about pool care content. And they're in their customer's house all the time and all that sort of stuff. But we rarely get complaints from customers if someone's put a picture of their house or their lawn. They're generally pretty proud of it. So but we encourage our franchisees to do it. So not at a corporate level, but at a franchisee level, post their work flat out. We encourage social media usage, and we probably go against all the rules of what they say in branding. You can only post this and only this color and this type font, all that sort of stuff. We pretty much give them free reign. But it's very rare that we have to take down a post, because if you put a lot of barriers in front of someone before they can post and say, you can only log into this system, we've got to pre-approve all these posts and stuff, which most franchise brands do, it just takes all the creativity out of it. And we wouldn't have that franchisee of 220,000 followers on TikTok. So but it's important. I think it's way more important than what companies realise.
Yeah.
And it's still very early days for it. No one's doing it.
Yeah. You mentioned things like 200,000 followers on TikTok and stuff like that. How do you feel about vanity metrics when we're talking about on YouTube and all this other social?
Yeah, I get asked that a bit. I get asked, I've been training some guys will say, he's got 220,000 followers, but how many leads does he generate from those videos?
Yeah.
And it's a good point. Look, vanity, you can get lost in vanity metrics a bit, but what's your goal with it? Like if you're intentionally want to just generate leads from social media, you should then post content that's directed at that, or use the platform that's best for generating leads from social media. For a trader, in my opinion, it's Facebook groups.
Really?
Yeah.
Facebook groups?
Yeah, Facebook groups. We encourage our franchisees to post in that a lot. If I'll give you an example. So we have a thing called the pay for work guarantee, and they can offer free services in their community, and we'll pay them for that job value. So it might be up to $100. And the reason why we do that is because it gets them out in the community, it generates some referrals from the person who gets the free job, and it gives them some practice as well.
Mm-hmm.
It can be very hard to knocking up to someone's door and saying, hey, I'm new in the area, do you mind if I mow your lawn for free? There's no catch. A lot of people go, they don't believe it. So what we tell them to do now is actually go into their local community group, post a picture of themselves and say, hey, I've just started a Jim's Mowing franchise. If anyone in the community needs a free mow, I want to give back because I've just started. I know times are tough. And then they'll get people messaging them or leaving comments saying, can you do mine? Can you do mine? Can you do mine? Then the franchisee will go around there, do the job, and then post a picture of that back into the group and saying, this is, Mrs. Jones, we just did a free community. If you need any jobs done, please let me know. If we're going to do a couple of these community mows a week. And the guy's comments are like this, 300 comments or whatever. He's got all these inboxes and he's flooded for work after the first week, which is paid work from doing that sort of thing. So you've got to look at what are you using social media for. Yes, you can get, this had video had 1 million views, but it generated me no leads, which is quite common. And you might have a video which generates you 1,000 views, but generates you a couple of inboxes as well. So yeah, what's your actually point of using social media? If it's purely lead gen, focus on the platform that's going to give you that lead gen result and create content specifically speaking to your target audience. But if you want to get the vanity metrics, by all means, that's fine. But things can come out of that as well. So to the guy who has the pool care account, I think he sells merch and different things like that. He can monetize that if he wants to in any way.
Yeah.
We have a franchisee with 100,000 followers on YouTube. He actually does paid promotional videos for like $1,500 to $6,000. He gets paid from a sponsor for a video. He's got a really good channel. We actually paid for him for videos for our own Jim's Mowing channel.
Really?
Yeah. So we paid for content from this franchisee. So a lot of franchisees with the big followings, they're sort of asking, well, how do I monetize it and stuff? But a lot of them enjoy it as well. But it's a good thing for us because like the guy we got a franchisee, he's got around 90,000 followers on Jim's Mowing in New South Wales. We take all his content, use it on the main page as well. But he'll get inboxes from all over the country, can you do my lawn and stuff, which he can't, but he'll refer him to the call center and things like that. And just because he likes doing it. But yes, vanity metrics is one thing. But if you're using it for purely just to do lead gen, my advice would be focus on where you think you're going to get those inquiries from and just create content targeted at that and don't get discouraged if you don't get the views and just be consistent over time and you'll get the result.
Facebook groups are really interesting because it's something that I've almost discouraged from some of my clients because you do tend to get knocked back and depending on your offer. So your offer is very attractive because it's free. It's almost like you're giving charity to somebody, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for tradies outside of the Jim's franchise that would want to use like Facebook groups? What is it? Just crafting their offer? Should they offer free service so that at least they're not getting backed?
Yeah, I think those community groups are for community, sharing things in the community that are good. So if you are doing a casual free job every month or something, making sure you take a photo of the job or what you've done and you promote it in the group and then you get a bit of goodwill out of it.
Yeah.
What is even better and what I see customers of franchisees doing is customers are actually posting the franchisee's business card into the local groups and saying, just had this bloke around. Oh, really? He's done a really good job. Give him a call. Yeah. And then you'll see the comments going like this. Bang. A lot of them. So if I was a tradie, I'd be actually, I don't know if you're allowed to do it, but you could do it, give discounts or something and say, hey, do you mind posting in your local Facebook group my business card and saying you've had a good experience?
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's direct, and you'll get direct result out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't underestimate the power of those local groups. I think they're really, really good. But yeah, that's probably the most effective thing, getting a referral from a customer into your local group if you can.
Yeah.
Would be what I would be doing.
It's almost more powerful than like a Google review or anything.
It
really.
is.
It's just crazy.
Well, Google reviews are really important, but it's unless it's very hard for franchisees sometimes to ask for them or traders to ask for them. They might feel a bit weird and stuff like that as well, and then they send a text message and an email and they never get it. Best time to do a Google review is when you're in person at the end of the job, when you've had a really good experience, you're about to leave them. They will do it for you then. That's when you've got to ask. There's all this software and stuff, which is fine, but the in-person asking of it is the best thing. But even better, I think, is the local group. If they can post in a local group, that's way more trusted. Yeah. People will see it at least in that way. They'll at least see one touch point of your name there, and then hopefully they engage with you. So in our training, I actually show that example of when a customer did it for a franchisee in car detailing, and he got around 10 jobs or 10 people saying, have sent PM, have cent PM, have called. and that's worth a couple of $1,000 to that franchisee.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's a good tool to use. Yeah.
With my clients, I just give them. I've got the Google NFC cards.
Yeah, we got them out there. Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
I just give them free ones of them, and because it's at the point of sale where you should really be tapping that and going, "Oh, do you mind getting?"
Well, the height of the experience is generally the end of it, right?
Yeah.
They're happy with the job. You've provided your value. They're happy with you. They're going to do it for you in person. So just get it done whilst it's there.
Exactly.
When you go away and you try and send an email and text, your strike rate goes down.
Yeah.
But if you invest at the end of the experience when they're going to be happy, just get used to asking. Like, it's hard struggle for us. Like, we tell franchisees the same thing. I show them, email and SMS and stuff like that. But I say to them the same thing. You'll get it when you're in person at the end of the job if possible. Everything else is always a bit of just luck if they're going to do it.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, as far as the strategy of Jim's Group goes,
Yeah.
It looks like you put out a lot of content.
Do a lot,
actually. So, is there a particular strategy to it? Because I know crushing it from Gary Vaynerchuk is essentially just volume, social media en masse. Is there anything particular you're looking at? Like, do you look into storytelling or anything like that?
We try and get better with that sort of thing as well. But we work on volume because there's just so many things with gyms you can talk about. We've got so many divisions. We've got so many things we've got to promote. So we do work on a lot of volume. The way we make our money as head office is by selling franchises. So, a lot of our content is B2B content as well. So we want to promote being a franchisee and about the training and stuff like that. So we do a lot of that stuff as well. But we also do a lot of B2C stuff where we're taking excerpts of the interviews about how to give good customer service and talking about services individually. How do you select the right bathroom in Jim's bathrooms, for example? Cut that up as a clip and post it as well. And then also the Jim's personal brand for me is separate because we get a lot of people who don't follow Jim's Group coming to us. So posting a lot of things, and with Jimmy, he's got so many varied interests. We just post all day about that. But the strategy, I work on volume because you can put all the time into doing a nice piece of content, and if it doesn't hit the mark, you've wasted a day or two and a lot of money doing it. So you've got to work on volume to know what works for you. And because with Jim's Group, we've got so many different divisions and stuff. Like every day I try and promote 4 to 5 different divisions as well on different channels. So, what you promote those divisions can be about training or, laundry expo, or it can be special, or it can be about becoming a franchisee. There's just so many different ways we go. But I've always taken the volume approach just because we've got so much we can talk about. Because if I limited it to 1 post a day, that's, 365 posts from 40 divisions, not including anything about gym, and you're really limited. So that's why I just work on volume, because there's so much things we can post about, and we've got the ability to post it as well. And our competitors just don't do it and don't keep up.
And a lot of the time that you are the face of the brand we talked about before, is that something you've had to build up? Are you just naturally in front of camera?
No, it was just more just out of, we don't have the resources to it. Like if I could hire a professional presenter to do stuff, I would do it. But we just don't have the resources to it. So it's just easier for me to book in someone from an interview and talk to them. And because I've been in the business so long, I know what to ask. Whereas if you've got an external face, which is we've done before for like trade days and stuff, we've had like Jason Hodges and stuff like that. They're really good, and but they're expensive. So it's more, Jim to me is the face of the brand, but it's all the franchisees we interview. They're all the face of the brand as well. The only reason I do it is just because it's easier. I'm here, my video guy's there, interview the franchisee. That's it. So if I had to go and get an external person to do it I would, and I try and share it around a bit. We've got a really good lady out there called Emma who've been starting to do a bit more content as well. But it's more just because I'm here. It's nothing. There's no plan about it. It's just it's easy. So I can grab a franchisee like this is our podcast here we're going to do here, and I interview them. So I'd be great. I'd love it personally. Like if Jim could, I get Jim to do occasionally interviews with franchisees and stuff, but that's not generally his MO. He's the one used to being interviewed, and he'll answer any question you've got. But I'd love to have, my plan for Jim was I'd love to would have done is make him to the Mark Brewer style where he goes and interviews other.
Wouldn't that be great?
It'd be great because he's got the pool and he can get all the guests. Whereas I can't. But he that's not the way he's inclined. So he's inclined to do any interview, who'll answer any question, which is fine. But if we had him doing that, I reckon we could be a lot bigger in his personal brand side. But you've got to also work with what you've got. So the only reason why I'm in a lot of the stuff is just because it's just easy for me. So that's really what it comes down to.
So you mentioned timing with just starting your social media journey like in the 2019-ish,
I wish we started earlier. If we started back in 2010, we'd be massive, I reckon. But
But as far as timing goes, that's about the time when TikTok short form was really, really taking off. Do you approach short form and long form differently?
Well, basically, good question. Look, if you're going to do it really properly with any company, like if you had unlimited funds, you'd have literally one person to focus on one platform each.
Yeah.
One Pinterest person, one TikTok person, one Instagram person, one Facebook person, but you'd be paying more than $1 million, at least for those people. Doesn't come into, exactly, very expensive. But what we try and do is we try and maximize our shoots. So Charles, for example, will go out and shoot long form, and it might be 2 hours of long form we shoot, and then out of that, we've then got to look through what's going to make a good short or not. So then, Charles and our guy overseas will know, right, here's an hour interview with a franchisee, watch it, what's the actual 3 videos that will do the best, and cut it from there. So we don't go into the plan of the short form when we do the long form. It's more about create the long form and capture it, and then it's up to us to then try and make short form that's engaging from that long form. And then our short form content's changed a bit. So, obviously you've got to do jump cuts and add on all the stuff that moves really quick, and
retention editing.
Yeah, retention editing and stuff. We try and do that, but we will also, we're not on the vanity metrics for that stuff. We know who we're trying to speak to. So for us, it's all about becoming a franchisee for a lot of stuff we do. So when we edit something, it might only get 1,000 views, but if that video's got 1,000 views and it might have 4-hour watch time in total of people maybe hearing about becoming a franchisee, it plants the seed.
Yeah.
The problem is always attribution. So you can't. It's hard to attribute. That's why Jim's really good. So Jim, doesn't want me to show reports and attribution for this, this, and this, and this, because he understands that someone might see the TikTok video. All right, they see that. I didn't know Jim's did that. Go to the website, and then they'll inquire on the website, and you think the website's generated the lead, but it's been that does it.
Exactly.
Then in training, they'll tell Jim, I saw it on TikTok. I wasn't even thinking about Jim's, and that's when it sort of goes, that's where it's coming from. So he understands about that. Whereas most corporate companies, the board and stuff want attribution. We create a video, how many leads does that one video generate, all that sort of stuff. We're not like that at all. Jim understands the organic social process, which is being consistent really over time, and it all helps and all works together.
I think it's a really important point to make, because often I speak to people and they're like, well, after X amount of months, we want an ROI. And I'm this is above the top of the funnel. All right, so this is awareness of your brand.
Yep.
And I think we really need to approach it that way. What else have you got in store for gyms for social media?
It's a good question. I've been sort of thinking, what can I do to stay a bit fresh? There's some people in franchise now which are copying us, which is great. It's not a secret what we do.
Yeah.
But then how can we take it to the next level? So what we're doing here is creating a podcast studio to get a bit more high production quality. So we'll have franchisees where you're sitting, and we'll do some really nice storytelling pieces with that, and try and elevate the business owner with what we do. But in regards to what we do, maybe. It seems to be each platform's just short form, which is what we do a lot of.
Yeah.
But I think people are now wanting to go a bit more long form and go away from that as well. So maybe we go into that a bit more. I think get out there and do a few more day on the roads. The day on the road video where we go on from 7 a.m. to the end of the day for franchisee vlog style is really, really effective for us from a short form content point of view, and also from a recruitment point of view, because those videos generally do really well. More franchisee podcast, which is awesome. Social, we're going to be doing a lot more shop stuff. So we've got a lot of merch now. So we've actually got an on-site shop up here. So we've got a full range of stuff that Charles was doing photography with, like umbrellas and stuff like that. And
cool.
TikTok shop will hopefully be in Australia soon. And I think that gives us a really good avenue with younger people.
Yeah.
So younger people love the brand for whatever reason. A lot of young people love it. So trying to, sell the gym's brand via merch to them, which would be great, but also sell the idea of becoming a business owner as opposed to going to uni or going to do a trade, not get paid well for a certain amount of time. So that's one thing. Also, the other thing I've got planned is we're going to do some maybe Vox Pop style stuff, maybe go to Flinders Street, take some merch, which people are familiar with.
Yeah.
And basically ask a lot of people questions about, well, how much do you think a gym's mowing franchisee makes on average?
That's a great idea.
And they're all going to underestimate that.
Yes.
So the problem I might get some pushback from people saying, oh, you guys are too expensive and stuff, which does happen because we promote a lot of the time about how much franchisees earn.
Yeah.
And it's always a touchy subject in Australia. Whereas in America, if you look at American content, the titles are all like, how this pressure washer business does $1 million a year. I'd love to title some of our videos like that because that's what franchisees, some of them do, but I can't do it because then, I don't want to talk about money and this and that.
Have you tried it?
I have. I'm starting to do it now.
Yeah.
So, I started to do, it's a bit of a touchy one because you get franchisors who go, we shouldn't be promoting how much we charge clients and this and that because it might put them off, which is fair enough. But it also, when you get people who don't realize how much money a small business owner can make, it's such a powerful thing. If they're earning 100 grand, 120 grand, hearing a guy talk about, I turn over 400 grand a year.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful thing as well. So I've actually talked about with Charles, doing our YouTube strategy to change it up a bit. So our titles are all about, learn how to, how to make, how to run a dog grooming business to make, 500 grand a year, that sort of stuff as titles, and talk about money a bit more.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a real lack of understanding about how much, a cleaning business can make, or a lawn mowing business can make. American YouTube channels will talk about it flat out, and they love talking about that sort of stuff. Whereas in Australia, where it's a little bit, don't talk about money, don't brag about money, that sort of thing. But I think that's what you need to do, because a lot of kids who are growing up, that's where our next franchisees are in 10 to 15 years. They don't understand the opportunity that they have as a small business. They're all taught about going to university or being a trade. No one's taught about being a small business owner.
Exactly.
So for me, our content moving forward will be can we interview younger people and ask them and plant the seed about that. But in terms of content strategy, look, more podcasts, better production value, more down the road, more unique angles. Like there's only so many times you can talk about training and show insights into training. So just different angles, taking a GoPro into training and walking around, or on the side interviews where we just run up to someone on the spot with the GoPro and ask them about why they're here, these sorts of things. But there's a lot we can do. And we're just always trying to get a bit better. And also content angles with Jim. Jim's always great for some views online with controversial and statements and stuff. So different content angles with him as well. But there's a lot we can do. Yeah.
You mentioned the next generation or younger generation. As far as Jim's MO, so I'm kind of a little bit passionate about bringing the next generation into trades, full stop, and getting them into apprenticeships. Is there an MO for you guys to have apprenticeships? I know Jim's mentioned before about maybe just pushing him straight into a franchise rather than doing an apprenticeship.
Oh, he'd love to do that. Yeah. I think we're working on a RTO still to do that.
Really?
To do that sort of stuff. Yeah, for the general public. So that's been in the works for a long time, but they're working on it now. So he wants to do that. So basically, our training course, he doesn't want just for franchisees. He wants, if you want to run a fencing business, you can come do our RTO and get accredited and come through our training. It's a soft sell to become a franchisee.
Yeah.
But it's also a way to give more workers to our franchisees too, because our franchisees are desperate for good workers, as tradies would be the same. So, get a kid come through and do a certificate and whatever, then they can go work with a franchisee for a year or two and then go do their own business. So that's what he would love to see happen.
Okay.
But I agree with you. Get the message out there that not everyone's going to be a tech millionaire, despite thinking that's easy. And and there's a lot of America gets it really well. Like in America, you start to see it now for all the content that's online about, the Millionaire Next Door, for example, that sort of book and that story about, the people who make your best chance of being a millionaire is via, home services, trades and stuff like, a roofing company or a fencing company and these sorts of things. But over here, we still don't push that nowhere nearly enough. And
in fact, I think it's to the opposite. It's to our detriment.
It is, because we're just funding because we just want to put them into uni and think that's a path for success. But as you would, I went to uni and it just didn't teach me anything, and I don't think it teaches kids a lot of anything.
Did it teach you nothing?
No, not really.
Really?
Yeah, not really. I'd never wanted to be a lawyer. I just did it to keep my mum happy, and I didn't really. It taught me that I could stick at something.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't want to do it. Yeah. So it teaches you a bit of resilience in that way.
Yeah.
But even when we hire here, like if someone has an MBA, it doesn't mean anything to us.
Yeah.
So we hire for character and stuff like that. But I think trades, getting into a trade and getting into a small business as quick as you can will such a good thing to do for people and matures them a lot quicker too. Whereas you go to uni, you party for 4 and 5 years and you don't know much about yourself at 25, 24, and you've got a 50 grand debt or something. You're behind the 8 ball. Whereas the tradie is gone in at 16 maybe or 15 or even 18 now, and by 22 they've got money for a house and this and that. So I just think it's such a far better path, and people are far better suited to trades and to small businesses than they are to uni. So
I agree.
But the school's not geared that way. So Jim's really passionate about that. We've actually done a lot of content about that.
Yeah.
And we actually had one video on TikTok went viral with Jim saying arts degrees are useless, and that was the start of it. And what do you think happens? Anyone who does an art degree, oh no, I use it for this and this and this.
Yeah.
But even though he's got a PhD in history, he's really anti-university as well. So yeah.
In some respects, it's one of the best marketing strategies anyone's ever had. University, like they've been able to manipulate a whole population of people to basically on board.
Look at America, like we're nowhere near America. Thank God for that. But look at America, like just the amount of debt people go into, and just this whole thing selling it. You're right, selling it. That's the only path for success. Like if you don't go to university, you're a failure.
Basically,
and we hear that all the time.
Yeah. And
a lot of people who we get done a PhD in uni and give it up and become a cleaning franchisee, and they're far happier and make more money.
Yeah.
But they don't know that's possible.
So, just kind of wrapping this up a little bit, what do you think is the biggest ROI that somebody can do, a tradie can do on social media right now? Something that's super easy that they can do, but has the biggest ROI.
Oh, there's so many things. I think going hard in groups.
In groups?
Yeah, Facebook groups. I think that's direct ROI. People will PM you in your group, and they're hopefully in your area because they're in that local group. But I think getting active in Facebook groups, and obviously groups have different things you can do, like no promotions or limited promotion, or you can pay for 4 posts and stuff. But I think getting active in groups is really, really good. Look, making sure you have all your profile set up. A lot of tradies don't have even a social media presence. So
that's so true.
Have a social media presence in the first place. Pick one platform though. Don't try and be everywhere and be in everything. In training, I say, look, if you want to generate work leads for your business from social media, just focus on Facebook and get good at Facebook groups, because that will generate you the most amount of ROI and give you the quickest results. If you want to get a bit more awareness and you want to be a bit more creative and just post content, Instagram or TikTok as well. If you are in a trade and you want to work with more other B2B stuff, probably Instagram as well is good. Just follow every business in your area. You can start reaching out to them.
Yeah.
Because for us as well, a little good hack, what we teach our guys is, especially in mowing, if they're, follow Instagram, follow real estate agents in your area or body corp managers, because they all manage their own Instagram.
Yeah.
Interact with their posts. And
that's a great idea.
And then start, maybe if they need someone in the future, they'll list your names there, and then you can go in there as well, and drop in something and say, I follow you on Instagram, just wanted to come and say g'day, that sort of thing. So online networking, and then do the in-person networking side of it as well.
Yeah.
But the biggest ROI, I think, is just getting, from money point of view, if your business is suited to it, just post in local groups flat out, doing some good things for the community, or posting, it's just that Mrs. Jones, she needed help with this, if you need anything, let me know, or getting their client to post their business card into a local group is something that's pretty good.
I think if I had to go like top of funnel, I would actually say being a guest on a podcast like this has got some of the biggest ROI.
Yep.
Until I started doing this, I didn't understand the power. If it's done properly, like the backlinking that comes from Google, Spotify, all that stuff is crazy. If you direct them, like all my guests, I direct all the traffic back into their website. They can use, it's got no like and trust factor on YouTube. It's crazy.
You're right. From a search perspective, podcasts are really good. And then the person who's done it, their family and friends might not be used to seeing you on an interview.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they'll share it on their feeds and stuff like that. And that's what happens with us. So a lot of our franchisees who I interviewed, they go, can you give me the podcast link? And they share it to all their family and friends and stuff like that. And their names in Google, obviously, because the title's with their name as well.
Exactly.
Podcast for sure, absolutely. And I think if you're a trader, it's just such a big point of difference, because everyone, go to Google, best plumber near me, and you get all the search results, you get all the sponsored ads. It's such a cluster of things now, because it's just all over the place with what Google's trying to do. Where's your point of difference to stand out? So know, like, and trust. People can see you, can hear you, they can relate to you. It's just the extra point of difference, and you can get a whole new market which is untapped with social media, with clients, because clients use social media, and then your clients will be using social media. And if they can come across a bit of content like that, flicking through their feed, and then give you a DM, which is great, which is a great thing to see from ROI. But I think, Google is saturated, and obviously, SEO expensive, Google ads are expensive. Getting your GMB is probably, your Google business profile is probably really important. But there's this whole other marketing ecosystem with social, as you would know, with podcasts and things like that, which I think for tradies, give me the best example, like the site inspections guy.
Oh,
site inspections bloke.
Isn't he? I'd love to have him on this podcast. He's so good.
He's a gun. But I've been telling our JBI guys, and they know this because I'm speaking at their comments, just copy him. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And he was on The Project the other day, and he was on Channel 7, and they're like, why aren't we on this? Well, because they don't know who you are. So, and he's built his whole business, because I remember when following him back in, I think it was 2019 or something, he started TikTok. He's called himself the TikTok inspector.
Yeah.
He did one video, it went super viral.
Yeah.
And he's kept doing it, and he just got a passion for it. But no, he's huge, and all his business comes from that. And I don't know how much exactly he charges for a building inspection, but from what I know, it's 4 times the average rate of our JBI guys.
Really?
Yeah, it's around 4 times the amount.
Wow.
So you're looking at, I think the average building inspector used to be 500. They charge 700 now. I think I could be completely wrong, but I know I think he charges around 2,800 per inspection.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, good. So, good on him. That's amazing.
He deserves it. But that's the actual ROI, right? So if that's correct, I think it's around that. But if he can charge way, way more, because he's created all this demand for himself via his social media presence. So as a tradie, as you said, you can create all this demand for yourself just by your social media presence, because people like you or they relate to your content and want to use you, and then you can charge whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whereas our JBI guys can't charge that. Yeah. But maybe if one of them got active on social media to where they were the building inspector to whatever it is and build a presence on that, they could charge maybe those rates. But the reason why I can charge those rates is purely due to social media.
And tradies as well have some of the best content.
Oh, it's so
Like,
interesting.
I don't like sitting
Yeah.
at a desk all day editing.
Yeah.
Very difficult to make content for me. But like as I used to be a tradie,
Yeah.
you can make like infinite amount of content. It's amazing.
Well, they don't think it's interesting. And this is why in training, like, don't think your thing's not interesting because it is. And the great thing with franchisees or with trades is you can just focus on one niche, right? So if you're a plumber, you can just talk about plumbing and people will follow you just for plumbing advice.
Exactly.
Like, you've got such an advantage of it. And you just hold your phone up and you can literally just talk through what you're doing, and people find that really, really valuable.
Yeah.
It's why the site inspection guy does so well, is because his information is so valuable. People are like learning at the same time, and he's trying to obviously he gets a lot of grief from builders and stuff, obviously, with what he does, but he's providing so much valuable advice, and every single trade like yourself back in the field, all day you're providing advice.
Yeah.
Just whip out the phone and capture it, and people appreciate it, and then you can become known as the Sparky in that area, or the go-to plumber in that area, because people are following you purely on social media for advice, and people are interested in it. Believe it or not, there's so many
100%.
people underestimate the knowledge they have, and they're too afraid to share it, or they get put off by when they get that one negative comment. But it's a really good tool to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we mentioned podcasting.
Yeah.
You actually have your own podcast, A Lived Experience. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's sort of, I do it occasionally now, but basically what it is just that there's a few mental health podcasts now, but they generally talk about depression and anxiety, and that's it. So there's not really many that talk about bipolar and schizophrenia and stuff like that. So I had a mum, a single mum with bipolar disorder. She spent a lot of time in and out psychiatric wards, and I spent time in foster care and stuff, and there's literally no content about it. So I was basically creating content around that. And when I did it originally, I got a lot of good responses and stuff like that, with people sharing their stories. Oh, that went through that, and you don't see much of this online. So yeah, basically it's just a platform for people to share their story. And then it's just basically, I get people from around the world. Like, it's a really small podcast in terms of numbers and stuff, but I do get some really nice messages from people in America, or who think they're the only one going through that situation and stuff like that. But it's just a platform for people to share their stories beyond the depression and anxiety. So there's a lot of mental health content now, which is fantastic, but it just focuses on depression, anxiety, and that's it. It doesn't talk about bipolar, schizophrenia, foster care or young carers and stuff like that. So it's more just stories around that.
What I took out of your podcast is like the residual or the impact to other people from people that have mental illness.
Oh, you get nice messages and stuff, and occasionally, like, I'd love to have more time to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I've got, I'm here probably 60, 70 hours a week. So I'm doing one episode today. I'm actually shooting off after this to do an episode at home with a lady who wants to reach out and share her story. But I just think it's a valuable thing. I get it all transcribed. It goes to my website, and it's there for good. And you get a lot out. You get some nice messages, and people want to share their stories. You just don't know how. And it's a really powerful thing for them to get it off their chest. And it helps them a little bit. So
yeah, I think the more the better. We've come such a long way with mental health.
We have. It's still a long way to go though,
Yeah.
because it's just a cycle. It's a cycle in the media. Like, you have an event happen, and then all this awareness. We need to do more. Then 2 weeks later, it drops down.
Yeah.
Then everyone knows, and then back up again. So throwing money at it as well is not always as effective. You got to have money in the right areas.
Yeah.
So a lot of people. There's so many support charities now and phone lines and stuff. But a lot of the money you donate to those go in marketing budgets or go to administration. So if you're donating $1 to, I won't name them, but you might only get 20 cents actually allocated to services and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why we're really big on the one called TAX. So TAX is, I know the boys pretty well.
From Trademark?
Trademark, yeah. And that all goes to, running TAX and promoting that. And that's a really good service that we promote to franchisees. So we're really passionate about that one as opposed to other bigger brands, because they just know where the money goes and the actual resources they provide. But the mental health thing, like, it's you're right. It wasn't talked about when I was growing up at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No.
And even now, it's still not. There's still conditions like schizophrenia and bipolar and stuff that don't get mentioned at all, and people are really scared of them, I guess, and there's a lot of stigma around them, which is why they aren't. But depression and anxiety, I think, is a bit more understood, which is fantastic, and it's really good. And the stuff that's going on has made a little bit of an impact. You can see in the rates.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that can be done.
Yeah.
But I just think, the government's, throwing money at it is okay, but they don't throw it in the right areas. And it's quite interesting. Like, Greg Hunt he shared his story online about his mum. His mum had bipolar. He grew up in a similar situation than me. And you're thinking, and I've talked to a few people who knew him and stuff. I think, well, why doesn't Greg Hunt, this guy who is had that situation, real passionate about sharing it? He only shared his story probably 3 or 4 years ago, which is his choice to do. But you're sort of thinking, even him, he's like, oh, Treasury can't give me this money for this and that. And it's just like, man, like you got people in government who've grew up in these situations, being affected by mental health, but they still can't do what's needed because of all the bureaucracy and all the red tape. So
it is a bit of a shame that we sometimes have to rely on the private industry, like people like Trademark Acts, to actually sort of promote these things when we've got the power within the government to do it. It's not.
Well, I love what they do. It's a social enterprise. But yeah, you're right. The power of the government, like, look how much money we allocate in some other things. Like, it's just crazy. Like, but I also do still think there's still an undercurrent of people who think, depression is made up or, all that sort of stuff. And, bipolar, don't even know what it is, or, just get on with it and stop being a victim, that sort of stuff, which is, I can see that sentiment still running in undercurrents. Like even in workplaces, for example, I still think workplaces get C to do the right thing on the surface, but people internally might think it's different as well. But I still think there's still a long way to go. There's still a long way to go with it.
Well, Joel, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Now, this is your opportunity to just do the hard sell on gyms. How can people, if people are interested out of this podcast, I have no idea. If you're a tradie, you're struggling, you're like, stuff all this, let's just go get a franchise. Where can they contact you guys?
Just gyms.net or go to YouTube and suss us out. We do have a few trades. We've got Gyms Plumbing now, Gyms Roofing, Gyms Electrical. Nice. So if you are finding it a bit harder to run your business as an independent, for what you pay in fees, you're going to be spending on Google Ads alone. So that's a really good opportunity. That's my hard sell, is that make it a bit easier. So if you're already doing the electrical business or plumbing business and you're struggling a bit, you don't want to worry about all the marketing and all that sort of stuff, we're a really good vehicle for it to help you out. But gyms.net, YouTube channel, gymspodcast.com, check us out. But thank you for the opportunity. I don't get interviewed too much, so hopefully someone found some value out of it.
Righto, you bloody legend. I hope you got some value out of that because I definitely did. Now, if you want me to continue to get these awesome guests on this podcast, I really need you to like, subscribe, and share this with your mum. This has been the Digital Tradie. I am David List. And until next time, make sure you're creating some legendary content.